Listen to the victim abused by a system that police this is racist. You know that we must face this.
It can't happen here. Take a look around at the cities and the towns.
See 'em hunting, creeping, sneaking, breeding.
Fear and loathing with the lies they're speaking.
The knife, the gun, broken bottle, petrol bomb.
There is no future when the passion come.
And when they come to ethnically cleanse me, will you speak out? Will you defend me? Or laugh through a glass eye as they rape our lives?
Trampled underfoot by the rise on the rise.
Ik ben een Auslander. Ik ben een Auslander. Ik ben een Auslander.
Things, surgical transmitters. One was fitted inside you when you went into the Charing Cross Hospital 3 years ago. Appendix, wasn't it?
Transmitter? Are you trying to tell me that you listen to every word I say?
A machine does. Untouched by human hand. There's a little gadget in these things that ties up with the pulse rate. Puts a bleep onto anything that you're excited about saying. Can you hear your heart beating?
It's eating breakfast at twilight, laughing at leaves on the pavement, getting a cab to a silly movie to Paris.
So there really is one of those things inside me. What do you want?
We want people with low power quotients. We want them to work for us. Nothing more sinister than that.
All this just to offer me a job.
Special sort of job. The newspapers talk about the corridors of power, the power elite. Let's just say we'd like you to join the club.
Oh.
There's a vacancy in our newsreel department. We'd like you to help plan the news for 1973. News requires imagination. News requires responsibility. We think you're well qualified. Please. We've only roughed out the news for 1973. Nothing's been given the go-ahead yet, but this is the kind of thing we have in mind.
Today, April 14th, 1973. First historic pictures by Radstar of the combined U.S.-Russian landing on the moon. Shown here are Majors Webb and Mikhailovich taking their first steps into the unknown, firing their retro-rockets to land their spacecraft on the dust-covered surface. June the 22nd, 1973. The State Department releases film of the ultimate weapon, codenamed Icarus.
September the 5th, 1973. The new phase in global warfare. War by example. At 4:32 our time, China took out the remote Indian border village of Bandar, unprotected by the Icarus network.
This is going to happen in 1973. You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models, much cheaper. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels?
Yeah, fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yes, you're getting there. I knew you would.
Yes. You can do it. This could be the news for 1973.
Not necessarily exactly like this. We only plan in detail 1 year ahead. We are very serious about you. There are things about you we like very much. Qualities you have to offer. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. You scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so So that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally. And there are all sorts of ways of not just the big ones like the hydrogen bomb. Overcrowd them a little with bad planning. Sell them too many motor cars. Anything to keep them a little bit removed from reality. Nowadays, people don't work for money. They work for the idea of money. They don't even love for love. They love for the idea of love. They only hate for the idea of hate. It took us 5 years to find a non-addictive drug, one we could pay off against the hard drugs. LSD.
You marketed that?
Oh, yes, of course. And for a very good reason. Some of these protest movements were getting a little bit too close to the mark. LSD gave them nice little hallucinations. Made them talk like 3-year-olds. Throw flowers at policemen. Shall we talk terms?
You're not still going to ask me to work for you?
I'm afraid I've had to put all this rather bluntly. You see, there wasn't really very much time. It must be rather a shock. Well, I mean, most people realize that the world is controlled from about 6 big cities. But it must be rather shocking to learn that a 1/6 of the world is controlled from this building.
You mean you?
Oh, no. I only rate an office on the 7th floor. There are 2 other offices above this one. And a giant computer system. Link number 4 in world control.
A computer?
And what's so remarkable about that? It's just a machine that can store a vast amount of information.
A machine that knows too bloody much.
Now you're being hysterical about it. The computer's very simple. You feed data into it. Anything from the Wall Street closing prices to the North Atlantic weather reports.
And you get decisions. That machine's taken you over.
It's just a machine. Extra hands for the people who know how to control it.
Well, this one above us, it's square in a box.
Yeah, I suppose you could call it square in a sort of a box.
You know why I go away at weekends? To get away from people in boxes. They live in boxes. They get their thoughts, their problems, and their answers out of boxes. And I like to get away at weekends because they're not people anymore. Now, you know all about me. My cottage in Hampshire. But did you know that there's a line of trees that goes right up past the house? And the noise they make is like the sea. Did you know that I find it difficult to sleep in the country? And I like to go and stand in the garden before dawn. And I feel good because I know that my wife and my children are asleep inside. And I like to go out and walk past the wet hedgerows until I can see pasture land and the smoke from the cottages in the village.
This may be all very well for one of your grassroots programs, but I'm afraid time is running out. I ought to tell you, we pay a great deal of money. We can afford to. We save such a lot on things like the national defense budget, so on. We would start you off at £250,000 a year.
Oh.
Rising to £1 million when you make the Ministry of Morality, which I know you will.
Will you let me out of here?
One little point. I should have told you about these surgical transmitters. There's enough of this stuff inside you at this moment to kill 6 people. There's a button we can press. I'm sorry about the dramatics. Our boys call these things the oral contraceptive. Keeps them from talking too much.
So there must be one of those transmitters inside you. Who presses the button? Extra hands. All this stuff about the computer being extra hands for the men who know how to control it. That machine controls you.
You start on Monday.
Interesting. This Israeli government has killed more children, more journalists, more more aid workers, and more medical personnel than any other war in recent memory. In the absence of global accountability, repeated horrors are normalized, threatening to create a future where anything is permitted, anywhere in the world. Those who continue to propagate the idea of Jordan as an alternative homeland. So let me be very, very clear. That will never happen. We will never accept the forced displacement of Palestinians, which is a war crime.
The revolution will not be televised.
Most people go through life oblivious to all the deception that's going on around us at all times. Some people wake up to this nightmare and see that from the moment that we are born, the establishment begins programming us and molding our minds for their own benefit. Our educational system is just a way to brainwash us all into being occupational debt slaves, content with barely getting by on crumbs and being robbed under the guise of taxation. We're lied to about our origins, and we're kept away from our true history. History is constantly being rewritten in order to keep this false reality in operation. Our food and water is being poisoned so we can get sick and go to our medical system for treatment, when, in fact, all they do is poison us even more with their prescription pills and put us further in debt with outrageous medical bills. Vaccines are touted as something good that's meant to help us when they're actually meant to destroy our bodies and our brains. Our air is being contaminated with chemtrails that are ultimately ruining our soil, making it harder to grow food with real nutritional value. Not to mention, we are getting to a point where no food shall be grown that Monsanto doesn't own. This world is ran by Satan-worshipping psychopaths, elite pedophiles that keep the masses distracted with bread and circus sporting events and Hollywood movies that are littered with propaganda that has the ability to manufacture your thoughts and opinions. Mankind is under severe mind control, and while our attention is being diverted, we are being led directly into one world order, where everything we know will be controlled by a single entity. That is the worst thing that can possibly happen to humanity, and it's very difficult to continue living a normal life when you're aware of all these things while simultaneously living among hordes of other people that don't have the slightest idea of what's going on. But once you wake up and see this world for what it is, it's impossible to go back. Since that's the case, it's crucial that you never let your guard down. Never stop researching, learning and thinking for yourself. Never stop standing up for what's right and speaking out. And, most importantly, never sleep again.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised.
I mean, I know your language. It's okay, because I'm Jewish. You know, I like business. I learn people language so I can fuck them in the ass after.
There you go. There you have it.
Yeah, brother, no problem. We like the money, not like you guys. You goy. You know what is goy?
Yeah,
goy
you did this.
Cigaria.
You did this.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this? What is this? 9/11?
Yeah.
9/11? It's the best.
Yeah, you Jews own everything, huh?
Everything. We rule everything, brother. You need to understand. We eventually rule the world.
Oh.
10 years from now, it's not France. It's Francistan. It's not Netherlands. It's Netherlandistan.
Yeah.
Belgistan.
Yeah.
Wait, brother.
You did that.
Of course, you deserve that. I swear I'm happy it happened to the Europeans.
Yeah.
The European is the most shit persons in the life. I
Yeah.
lived in Belgium before.
Yeah.
I know who is the Europeans. Europeans can suck my dick, brother. You're worth nothing. What is this? Every single aspect, mass, go, look. Like, no, the other side. Aspect of mass is Jewish. Brother, I tell you, we run the fucking world. You don't understand what I'm telling you? We rule the world. Rothschild, people like this. You don't understand? It's behind the scenes even, with all this Illuminati shit, bro. You don't know what's going on. You guys will never understand because you're not Jewish. You're not allowed to know those things. But we know what's happening behind the world, brother.
I know.
Everything good, but you don't deserve to know it, you understand? Because you goy. I will rape the children of her, I will rape children in front of her mother, and then I will shoot the child in the head and the mother also. And we bomb.
Did you do that in the army too?
Yes, you see this? This is, I swear, from the army.
Well, Christians, we don't have that. We try to make peace.
Wow, we're going to see the peace in 10 years in Europe. We will see what peace you have, brother. So statistically, you're fucked.
The idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO Directorate and the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations but enforceable edicts, provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey. Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
I don't believe many civilians are there. And I think the vast majority, if not everybody, is complicit in this crime. If it wasn't for the hostages, and if I had the power, today, not October 8th, I lie to you. Today, I wipe Gaza off the map. One shot, one instant, quickly, before even the world even realized what happened. That fast.